Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Diane Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is Diane Helbig. Hi, Diane.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Excellent, thank you.
It's so great to have you. We're going to have a great time talking today about systems and processes and business in general. And Diane, you are an author, you are a consultant, you are an advisor, you have a lot of experiences with businesses. You're also the current president of the NABO chapter, which is National Association of Women Business Owners. I was a past president in Portland, you are president in Ohio, and definitely we both really like that organization and support it. So for our listeners, if you haven't, if you don't know what NABO is about, definitely go to nabo.org. Diane, tell us a little bit more. How did you get to where you are today in terms of opening your own business and advising businesses?
Thanks so much for that. So I had been in small business for my whole career, and first in leadership and then in sales. And in late 2025, my father passed away suddenly, and it was just one of those life-changing moments where I said, I want to do some impact on the world, and I'm watching these small business owners struggle with things that I don't think they should be struggling with. These are things that shouldn't be difficult. And so I just decided, you know what? I'm gonna go do my own thing. I'm gonna launch, and I checked out, different areas and took a coaching course and figured out how I wanted to do it. And in 2006, I just launched. I changed my relationship with the company I was working for and became an independent contractor and just went ahead and started building a practice.
Excellent. And then you also wrote 3 books.
Yes.
What inspired you to write those books?
So the first book I wrote was Lemonade Stand Selling, and what inspired me was I'd been writing a whole bunch of articles about sales and speaking and whatnot, and I thought, I'd just like to put all of this in a book so that people can take it and do whatever with it. So that one published in, I want to say 2009. And then I thought I should have another book, but I don't have any ideas in my head. And a friend of mine said, take the top 10 most listened to episodes of your podcast and turn it into a book. I was like, that's a great idea. So I did. I figured out which ones were the top most listened to. That was Expert Insights. And then in probably 2018, I realized that I was talking about sales, same concepts, but I was talking about it a little differently. And I was struggling with people doing things that weren't working, and yet they were continuing to do them. And I thought, I'm just going to take everything that I teach, everything that I believe, everything I do with my clients, and I'm putting it in a book, and it's going to be everything. So for sales managers, direct sellers, you name it. I just put everything in this book with forms and whatnot. And then it published in December of 2020, like right in the middle of COVID. So
Interesting. So what are some of the things that you found that people are doing that shouldn't be doing?
Boy, so when they're networking, they're talking too much. They're believing that they need to get a client while they're networking, which is not true. They think the people there want to know about their product or service, and the people don't. They're not following up when they're networking, so they're not actually doing the relationship building, which is the reason that they go in the first place. That's when they network. When they prospect, they aren't real clear about what an actual good client looks like and what a bad client looks like. So they just want all the business, which is a bad idea. And they prospect toward the sale instead of just to get a meeting. So like they don't use discovery at all in any phase, and they should be using discovery in every phase. And then when they get to the sales appointment, they talk instead of listen. And then they wonder why they're not closing they think closing happens at the end. They don't make sure that they have all the information that they need in order to really know if they can help the prospect, whether they want to help the prospect. So I mean, those are the big things that people are doing wrong.
Understood. So what is your advice in terms, you said that they have to be doing the discovery at every phase. What is your advice on that? Like what should happen in every phase in order to actually do the discovery?
Yeah, so when they go networking, they should go believing no one in the room wants what they have to sell, and that what they want is to learn about, one or two people. And when I say learn about them, I mean in regards to who they are, what motivates them, why they do what they do, not in regards to what the person sells, okay? And they should be trying to identify how the people in the room fit into their world. Are they going to end up just being a business friend? Are they going to be a resource? Will they potentially end up being a good referral source? Will they maybe end up being a client? And we don't know the answer to that one at all. And equally important, will they end up being someone who, the person doesn't want to continue to build a relationship, doesn't want to have in their world? And the only way they know that is if they are totally open to learning who's in the room, not doing everyone in the room is a potential client, right? Because those are blinders. So that's when they're networking. When they're prospecting, they should be thinking about, this is what an ideal client looks like. This is what an average client looks like. And this is what a horrible client looks like. So when they have that knowledge, then they look at their prospect base in terms of, okay, who actually fits this, might fit here, and I'm going to get rid of the ones here. And then they want to learn as much as they can. They want to look at the website. They want to see if the company or the person's been in the news. There's so many places where you can gather information about a business, not necessarily about a person, but about a business, so that the more you learn about a prospect, the more you have to talk with them about when you reach out to them. And a lot of, salespeople and small business owners will say, well, I don't really know how to start the conversation. Well, you know what? If you knew what was going on with them, you'd know something, right? So that's why discovery is so important at that point. In the sales meeting, it's my opinion that the salesperson has to have a ton of questions that they are going to ask. And if they aren't getting an answer, they need to ask why not. Like they have to push a little, because there's questions beyond the thing that the salesperson solves. There's, what is your decision-making process? Have you ever worked with a company like ours before? What was that experience like? If you move forward with this, what will the impact be? If you don't, what will the impact be? Right? These are questions that really get to the core of the level of pain, investment. If they've worked with a company like yours before, would they mind sharing what their annual spend was? Like, what most salespeople do is they don't push on the money question because it's uncomfortable talking about money. And then, so they have no idea. And then they go ahead and propose, and the prospect says, wow, that's just out of we were not expecting that. That's too much, whatever, because they aren't connecting value to investment. And that's our job. And so we have to have those conversations. We have to be willing to push a little on it and find out why they feel uncomfortable talking to us about that. It's building trust. It's building that relationship. Only after we have, like, every salesperson knows all the information they need in order to be able to accurately provide a quote.
Right.
So, right? So they
Right.
have to pull all of that information before then they do that. So that when they do, it makes sense, right? It's connected to all the information that they got before. And then the last thing is, once they've got a client, they have to continue to do discovery. They have to continue to learn about the client. It can't, there's transactional relationships and relationship, personal ones. They have to do the personal.
What are
Because
some of the good practices or the best recommendations to actually create that personal relationship?
yeah, well, the first is to really be more interested in the other person than you are in making a sale. And I know that feels counterintuitive, but that's how you build trust and that's how you learn. And then you pay attention to the things that you're learning, especially when it doesn't have to do with what you sell. So if I circle back to networking and identifying the people in the room who might be good resources, I have to continue to relationship build with them so I can identify, are they really a good resource? Are they good business people? Do they have integrity? How do they deal with their clients? All of these things. So that then when I'm talking to my prospects and my clients and I'm asking them, so how's it going? What's going on? What sort of initiatives do you have going on? And they say something that they're working on that doesn't have anything to do with me, but has to do, with someone who I know, I can say, I know someone who is really great at that. Would you like an introduction? It's a great relationship building tool, right? Because now you're the go-to. When you're
Right.
out networking, connect people to other people. Be paying attention to who should know who, because it's also a great way to build trust and build relationships. People love that person. They don't like the person who walks in and starts talking about their whatever it is they sell, because they don't care.
I agree. I agree. I mean, that's very key to networking for sure.
Yeah.
Now, Diane, you're a very big advocate of processes and systems, and you like them. So tell
Yes.
me why.
Oh my gosh. Because I don't think anything works if it doesn't have a process and a system. So the sales process has to have benchmarks and steps, and it has to be put on a calendar. Those steps have to be put on the calendar. Otherwise, we stop doing them, and then we end up with no pipeline. Within a business, my viewpoint is this: if something's going wrong, it's not the person, it's the process. So you have to look at the process and say, okay, where are the holes? And wherever there's a hole, I need to add a step, like a checklist or, confirmation, an implementation schedule, something, so that everyone's on the same page. Once I've got that whole thing done, if things still aren't going right, it's the person.
Right. It's people or processes or both, right? So
Right.
I agree with that. Let's first of all fix the process and see if it can and make sure that it's being followed by all. And then if it's again not followed, I mean, it can still be a process because processes can be incomplete or not perfect. So you can
Right.
still take a look and see if it is the process itself.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So give an example, give our listeners an example of how you act, how you help a client, the before and after story of Diane.
Okay. So when a prospective client comes to me, they tell me what it is they want to accomplish. And we actually end up doing a strategy session where we sit down, I ask a ton of questions. We go over, what does that really look like? What do they really want? And where are they right now? Like, what is getting in the way of them getting there? Together, we create an initial strategy. So we're going to, this is where we want to get to. We're going to start down this road. They actually implement that plan. And then I'm with them. I like to say I walk alongside them like a guardrail. And we talk about, how is it going? we do a lot of systems and processes. So I can give you an example if you'd like. I have a client who very successful, has no lack of business, like does not need sales help or, a sales structure. She needed processes and systems because she wasn't calling people back. She wasn't getting to certain things. The people who were working with her, she wasn't giving them added responsibilities. She was didn't want to be vulnerable. And she had never taken time off unplugged, totally unplugged. And that was her ultimate goal, was to be able to have a child and take a long maternity leave from her business. Well, she couldn't even take a week unplugged. So, tricky. So we sat down and we looked at it and said, okay, what needs to be in place in order for you to be able to not be here and not miss a beat, like not worry about it. And it's all taken. And so we figured out what those things were. And then we had to figure out how we were going to get people up to speed with those things, because she hadn't handed them off yet, right? So what are the things that she shouldn't be doing? Hand them off to people. We automated some things. And that was, it was tricky for her. I mean, she, some things made her really nervous and uncomfortable, but as we did them and she realized, wow, that works. And it's not like it's freeing me up. This is so awesome. She was more open to doing more of it. She actually took an entire week vacation without phone, computer, nothing, just like totally in. So win. And then had a baby and closed her business for 3 months and started it right back up. She let everybody know, this is what I'm doing. She started it right back up when she was ready to, and it all worked. It just, like, everything worked, and she just, yeah. And
What
has
a great
not gone
success
backward.
story.
Yeah.
What a great success story. That's
Yeah,
fabulous.
thanks. Yeah, thanks.
So
She's
Diane,
wonderful.
if people want to hear more, learn more about you, talk to you, get your books, where should they go?
They should go to my website, helbigenterprises.com, because everything is there. They can schedule time with me. They can find, links to the books, everything.
Fantastic. Okay, so definitely I encourage our listeners to do that. And Diane, it's been a pleasure having you on this podcast. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. It's been great.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.